Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. The clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton is absent. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Is present, but not feeling a lot of love over here on this side of the table.
Councilmember Dundon.
Present.
Councilmember Costi.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reports from committees. Oh, approval of the minute. We'll start with approval of the minute. Anyone like to make a motion on that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Costi. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've passed the minutes. Now we'll move on to reports from committees. Anyone have anything to report? Councilman Kavanaugh.
Yes, reporting back from the Sole Source Committee. The Police Department requested sole source contract approval for retrofitting the police kind of communication command truck that we have. There are very, very few companies that retrofit existing vehicles. Everyone wants to sell you a brand new vehicle. So this company, when you're welcome to refer to the minutes of the Sole Source Committee, they're particularly suited to do a retrofit and provide kind of single point of contact for support and stuff. So they were a good, strong choice. That's all.
Anyone else? Okay, so we had an environmental commission meeting on November 21st. Unfortunately, the recording from that meeting was not retrievable. I was notified about this issue, and going forward, we're going to start using audio recording device as a backup mechanism to ensure we have physical recordings moving forward, but minutes will still be posted when they're submitted by the secretary. I think the bulk of what was discussed in that meeting will be presented during the public hearing today on zoning. So I think the public will hear all of that from the people that were in the meeting at this meeting. Upcoming meetings, we have a Native Gardens Task Force meeting tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. It'll be an organizing meeting, and it's at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow in the work session room. You go in through the clerk's office, and that will be their first meeting of this task force. And the next full environmental commission meeting will be December 19th at 1:15 p.m. also in the work session room, go in through the clerk's office. Traffic board is upcoming, and that will be December 12th at 9:15 a.m. The agenda has not been posted yet. Anybody else? Okay, with that, we will move on to the appointments section of the agenda. And we are still recruiting for the Human Rights Commission and for the Environmental Commission. If you are interested in either of those commissions, please submit your resume to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov for consideration. We have a tentative deadline as December 17th to try and collect things up before the holidays. So please reach out. Please notify your friends. For the Environmental Commission, you must live in the City of Binghamton. For the Human Rights Commission, you can live or work in the City of Binghamton. All right. Next, we have our public hearing. So we have no public hearings to set, so we're moving on to the actual public hearings. We have 2 public hearings tonight, and we're going to start with RL 24-162, an ordinance amending City of Binghamton Charter, Chapter 410, zoning to facilitate new housing constructions. Residents are welcome to speak. You'll each have 5 minutes. And I don't know if we want to start with the commission members. I know you have a lot of prepared remarks. Come on down, and if there's a lot of people that want to speak, there's a whole bunch of chairs right up here in the front. And you can line right up so that we can go person to person to person. Welcome. The green light's on and the microphone's really close to your face.
I'm Richard Giannaccio and member of the Commission for Conservation of the Environment, appointed by the Magnificent Seven. And I'm going to read the statement that the commission put together, but it takes longer than 5 minutes, so I might pass it on. Just let me know when the time is up. Dear City Council members, Olamni Parda, Kenya Middleton, Robert Kavanaugh, Nate Hotchkiss, Hadassah Matavetsky, Michael Costi, and Michael Dundon. The Commission for Conservation of the Environment for the City of Binghamton voted unanimously on November 21st, 2024, to recommend that the City Council of the City of Binghamton vote nay on RL 24-162, a proposal to upzone the entire city of Binghamton. Our reasons include the following. Although Binghamton's City Planning Department has proposed to encourage the development of affordable housing by redefining zoning classifications, that is, upzoning to allow multi-unit buildings of greater bulk on smaller lots with reduced or even zero parking requirements, and to apply this upzoning citywide. City planning has provided no evidence that such upzoning is needed citywide, no evidence that it will result in construction of affordable housing in Binghamton, and no evidence that the proposed changes applied citywide will have any type of net desirable outcome. For that matter, has anyone from planning demonstrated that any particular affordable housing project was forestalled as a consequence of parking requirements? The proposal includes no assessment of risks versus benefits of the changes sought. The proposal's compliance with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, is incomplete. The proposal as written allows for upzoning in known flood-prone areas, and the proposal as written lacks verbiage requiring green infrastructure that would alleviate flood risk. Impacts on neighborhood character and quality of life throughout the city were not assessed. An inventory of buildable lots was not produced. Such an inventory could be a valuable tool for smart, targeted rezoning. The proposed changes do not show that any consideration was given to walkability or access to public transportation. And finally, senior citizens and low-income residents are targeted to bear the burden of parking reduction goals. The Commission's consensus opinion fully supports the goal of parking reduction, but only in the context of easy access to adequate public transit, environmental controls, and a more fair distribution of the burden imposed to liberate required parking spaces. Moreover, reducing parking on private property may simply shift the cost of that parking from the developer to the public, effectively socializing the expense and privatizing further profit, as is the case today for areas of the West Side that are predominantly student rental properties. Do I have time? Okay. How much time?
You have about a minute and a half left.
Okay, thank you. On February 17th, 2024, National Public Radio published a story about how upzoning areas in close proximity to public transportation was associated with a subsequent, more modest 1% initial increase in rent in Minneapolis, Minnesota. However, it must be noted that Minneapolis has a robust public transportation system compared to Binghamton, and that this city smartly targeted upzoning to be near public transportation. The issue of proximity to public transportation is a very crucial consideration that is repeated in other upzoning plans in various cities around the country. But proximity to public transportation is not considered at all in Binghamton's plan. Moreover, the NPR story referring to the Minneapolis experiment touts a 1% increase in rents as proof of success for their upzoning initiative. But here's the question. How does a 1% hike in rents benefit a family that cannot afford rents prior to the 1% increase? It would be problematic and negligent to impose any zoning changes on the existing zoning map merely by redefining the zoning classifications. Many neighborhoods lack contextual zoning. There is no evidence in this plan that contextual zoning even exists in the lexicon of the City Planning Department. Moreover, R3 zones, which would accommodate the most dense residential developments, are scattered on the zoning map without regard to walkability or even proximity to public transportation. Accordingly, instead of upzoning the entire city, a thorough look at areas of the city that could best accommodate, benefit from, and sustain increased housing density should be undertaken and appropriate changes in zoning designation made accordingly.
Your 5 minutes is up.
5 minutes is up.
Want a motion to waive the 5-minute rule for the finishing of this statement? No?
Well, we're going to get through it either way with Luke, right?
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Luke Day from the Commission Conservation of the Environment for the City of Binghamton. Accordingly, instead of upzoning the entire city, a thorough look at areas of the city that could best accommodate, benefit from, and sustain increased housing density should be undertaken, and appropriate changes in zoning designations made accordingly. Such eligible areas could be rezoned R4, for example. The characteristics of this new R4 zoning designation would include a relatively low flood risk, relatively low walkability index, location within 500 feet of a bus stop, and compliance with the principles of contextual zoning. The current plan to upzone the entire city is not warranted and could have unintended negative impacts by creating greater risk and greater potential losses due to flooding. It is of utmost importance to consider that the zoning changes resulting in smaller lots with larger building footprints would increase impervious surfaces throughout Binghamton, a city that has been plagued repeatedly by serious flooding without requiring any green infrastructure to mitigate or adapt to worsening flood risks due to climate change, which will now be further exacerbated by the construction that RL 24162 would permit as of right. The inclusion of green infrastructure in the zoning law is highly recommended. Although some traditional developers initially may frown upon the additional cost of including green space and other green infrastructure in their development plans, the cost is often nominal. Such investment is smart, necessary, and cost-effective. Green infrastructure can mitigate flood risk, reduce flood damage, reduce insurance rates, and add aesthetic appeal, which can translate into increased value to real estate property in the community in which it is located. New York State has provided generous grants to fund green infrastructure. While adding green infrastructure would address increased risk of flooding in a cost-effective and aesthetically pleasing way, other deficiencies of RL 24162 remain, such as its failure to address and consider inadequate public transportation, its failure to evaluate walkability before recommending parking reductions and eliminations, its over-reliance on rentable residential units as opposed to promoting home and co-op ownership, especially equity limited co-ops, and its failure to accommodate community residents and other stakeholders whose input was not sought in developing this citywide plan. Curiously, the proposal also includes additional upzoning for Griswold Street, which currently has a great difficulty staying above water. There is no indication that impacts on emergency response times by first responders were addressed in the context of this new environment of citywide denser housing, which needs to be considered under various road conditions, including stormwaters and snowstorms and floods. This plan, after all, allows a building spree of row houses and accessory dwelling units, ADUs, which include attached garages turned into dwelling units with no separate entry. In short, the existing plan to upzone the entire city is almost guaranteed to be unacceptable to residents in many neighborhoods because it would drastically change the character of the neighborhood if implemented, and because it is likely to destabilize some property values without any assurance of achieving the desired goal to increase the city stock of sustainable, affordable housing in a price range that will be within reach of those who need it most. To achieve that goal organically and sustainably, the City of Binghamton needs a plan that is more discerning and insightful than 24162. It should be noted that there is no established cause and effect relationship between increased construction and affordability low-income families, nor is there any demonstration that any short-term lowering of rents is sufficient or sustainable over time. It is anticipated that all of these neglected issues will have to be addressed in the proposal revamped if the goal is to achieve a consensus of acceptability for a successful affordable housing plan for the City of Binghamton, characterized by sustainability and usability by those of us
You have 1 minute left.
who are most in need. The current plan has not been shown to benefit anyone, but if it does benefit anyone, developers and landlords may be the primary, if not the sole beneficiaries of RL 24-162 as written. Thank you.
Next. Welcome.
I'm Diamond Mulcahy. I live on the south side of Binghamton. I've been a resident of the south side for over 60 years. And I live where I live because I like living in a single family neighborhood. Do not want any more apartments. What I would like is for the city to enforce the coding laws that they have now, maybe up the fines for the out-of-town landlords and the landlords who do not take care of their properties. And I also have a few questions. How many vacant properties are in the city of Binghamton? Does anyone know that answer? How many businesses downtown have empty floors that maybe could be converted into housing? And I'm also very upset that you put up elderly and housing for the poor. They have a right to have a car. They have a right to have a parking space. It's very discriminative not to let them have that. Especially if people want to go visit them. You're coming home, you have a car to park, you have a couple kids in tow, you have groceries. You're not going to want to park 3 blocks away. We don't have public transportation that runs 24 hours. It's the whole thing to me is absurd or obscure, however you want to put it. I'm totally against rezoning the city. If you want to put up housing with no parking, then do it on Main Street. It's falling apart. Main Street, Binghamton is a wreck from Court Street to the well, it's no longer there, the arch of Johnson City. It's just, and I'm also upset about the fact that 3 properties on Henry Street went for $1. How is that helping our tax situation? I know the mayor wants to get our population up, but if they fix the ongoing problem with the housing and the houses and the apartments that are not being taken care of, that would probably help the issue. Also, Johnson City just passed something where they're going after the landlords and they have a deadline they have to meet. And they're increasing their fines, as far as I know, on the landlords that don't comply. Maybe the city of Binghamton to do that to the out-of-town landlords and the vacant properties that have been there for years. There's one on the south side. It's literally falling down and it's been there 10 years and that situation has not been addressed. And they say, well, it's probably in court. Well, I'm sorry. Should not take 10 years to get a landlord or the property owner to take care of a property. Something has to change. Zoning isn't going to help the situation. You're going to make it worse. People live in their neighborhoods because they like their neighborhoods and they don't want to see a big change in neighborhoods. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Anyone else? Come on down. If there's other people in the audience that would like to speak, fill in the chairs. You coming up?
My comments on climate action.
Oh, perfect. All right. Anyone else? If not, I'll turn to our clerk to read in any emailed comments for this public hearing. Yeah.
This is from Tom Costello. Please accept the following comments for me, Thomas F. Costello, on my own behalf. As a former municipal official in the city of Binghamton, I offer the following comments in regards to legislative amendments proposed under RL 24-162. Has the planning department or any other relevant office addressed or demonstrated that the proposed zoning amendments conform to the goals and standards expressed in the most recent comprehensive plan update? If so, has the statement or rationale have been established in writing and made available to City Council for review prior to a vote on this amendment? A definition of a principal dwelling is not listed under Article 2, 410-5. Absent definition, can a multi-unit dwelling or an individual dwelling within a multi-unit dwelling be considered a principal dwelling in relation to the proposed amendments? Conversely, is a principal dwelling limited to a single-family unit? C, accessory dwellings. Formally define household. How does the redefinition of senior housing relate to or affect any existing structures that happen to have a household or households, i.e. existing multi-unit dwelling currently occupied by a person aged 55 or older? Or to put it another way, what process or specific circumstances will trigger the assignation of the term senior housing to an existing structure? It is understood that zoning terminology is necessary and utilized for such processes as a request for variance or for a special use permit. Given the circumstance, how or where does the term apply, or how or where is the term being invoked in other sections of the code? Or conversely, does this legislation establish a definition that is not invoked cited elsewhere in the code? Senior housing, what triggers the status of a structure/property in this category? The definition applies to the type of occupant rather than a type of occupancy as defined by the Uniform Code or the type of structure. Has City Council formally inquired about the enforcement resources required to ensure compliance with proposed changes with specific reference to conditions imposed upon the occupants of a dwelling unit, as opposed to allowed occupancies? It should be noted that the Office of Building Construction and Code Enforcement does not routinely enforce the requirements of zoning ordinances. The function is or has been performed by the zoning officer. Does the current staffing have adequate resources to enforce these new requirements, or will additional staff be required to ensure compliance? Has council requested data that support the expressed proposed changes and associated goals? Could data analysis demonstrate the number of existing properties that would be affected by the proposed changes? Analytics could also show the spatial distribution of these properties. To the best of my knowledge, there is no enforcement structure available that is capable of enforcing types of occupants that occupy any particular structure. To demonstrate the circumstance, City Council may want to ask the Planning Department to show them where known congregate living occupancies currently exist. Council may want to ask about the total number of known congregate living units, as well as the total number of beds contained within that same occupancy class. Council may want to ask planning to show their work. Your consideration is appreciated. Thank you.
You. Is there any other submissions? Okay. So if there is no more discussion, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman Middleton,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. First public hearing of tonight is concluded. Next, we have a hearing for RL 24-207, a resolution to adopt the climate action plan. City residents are welcome to speak. You'll each have 5 minutes. And again, you can come and queue up down here if you have something to share. Come forward. Welcome. Green button and mic very close to your mouth.
Excuse me, I'm Scott Loffer. I'm also on the Environmental Commission. And I'll say it's laudable that the city wants to achieve net zero emissions by 2035, but in light of how New York State is failing on reaching their climate goals, I think it's important that we assist, we being the Environmental Commission, to try to make it a little more feasible. And so I'll read what our comments were that have been submitted already. We asked that the city develop SMART goals for all climate action plan goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Example would be target quantities and goal attainment dates, and identify responsible implementers, agencies, and departments. And I'll just add that if you don't have a timeline where you're checking the progress, 2035 will be here quicker than realized, and we may be surprised by not having what we need. In addition, I'll continue with our formal comments. Include the DEC recommended community-wide greenhouse gas reduction target, currently net zero by 2035, and a set of prioritized initiatives for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And with this, develop a survey and provide a community input opportunity for the prioritization of city greenhouse gas reduction measures. Ashley Seifert on our commission is to develop that, and Councilwoman Mataveski is to share with the South Side Neighborhood Assembly as a pilot this plan, and then to be distributed across the city. And last, improve the frequency and accuracy of data collection on greenhouse gas related climate action plan activities, especially fuel, natural gas, and electricity usage. And with that, develop methods and ongoing practices for the collection of data from departments and sharing with the commission for continuous benchmarking and review. And we're under the, or have the understanding that the climate action plan is going to be updated with taking these comments into consideration. And we're looking for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else interested in coming up for this public hearing? If not, were there any comments submitted via email? All right, their motion to conclude this public hearing.
Make the motion.
Motion by Councilman Dundon,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. This second public hearing is concluded. Now we move on to public comment. So anyone in the residents, welcome to come down, speak to City Council on city issues. You have 5 minutes. Welcome.
I just want to speak on
What's your name?
Zach Mulcahy, live on the South Side resident. If you guys are, I don't know if raising taxes is proposed, but if you're going to raise taxes, can you cut some of the fat first from the city budget? I know people like it, but last time I knew it was $2 million to the baseball stadium. This is what was the city was funding. That's one example. Then the other example is I don't have to fear retaliation, but I worked at the wastewater treatment plant for 16 years. George Kolba is 83 years old. He's asleep for more than 45 minutes at the plant board meetings. Maybe you guys want to look into that. He can't hear very well. The confidential secretary has to repeat everything because he can't hear. He's losing cognitive ability. And last time he talked to the press, he didn't know what he was talking about. He said something about hammer grinders. That piece of equipment doesn't exist in the wastewater industry, period. I worked there for 16 years, learned a lot. That piece of equipment doesn't exist. You can Google it if you don't believe me. It's perfectly fine, but that's just one example of saving some tax dollars from the budget and eliminating, I don't know if you want to eliminate the position, but getting the people out of the position where they're no longer being effective anymore. Just bringing it up. Like I said, I don't have to fear retaliation because I don't work there anymore. Thank the Lord. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
You.
You guys have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for doing your job. By the way.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Oh, Richard. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to expand personally on a few of the issues that are involved in the zoning, and one of them is that the construction that's being planned is row houses that are going to be rented out. What I understand, that's what the mayor told me. But we would, and Councilman Kavanaugh introduced a separate legislation, I think. I don't know the status of it right now, but it's to include condominiums and co-ops. And the problem is that there was a committee meeting on September 19th, I'm sorry, 9/11, September 11th, and city planning representative was not prepared to answer questions about co-ops. I would strongly suggest that you look into co-ops that are called limited equity co-ops. These were very popular in New York City under a program called the LUMA program. Instead of giving money to the landlords, give the money to the tenants
They can buy it.
that are co-op owners, not tenants. And then instead of paying rent, they'll be paying off loans and accumulating equity. It's a pathway out of poverty instead of making the landlords rich with housing. We need to encourage home ownership, or at least cooperative ownership, which is owning shares in the building that you live in. And I see that as a real deficiency in the plan. And also, it kind of gives me a hint that maybe affordable housing was more of a marketing tool rather than the impetus for this plan, which I feel will favor developers, favor landlords, but I'm not sure that it's going to produce affordable housing that is sustainable and going to remain affordable. And if it does, it's going to be a rent type of situation, which does not allow people to move up in the socioeconomic ladder. So I think I wanted to underscore that particular point because it was given short shrift. And the other issue is that some of the principles are okay, like, reduce parking and increase housing, but this broad brush approach is what is wrong because it doesn't look at all the issues that you have to consider, like flooding, like proximity to transportation, like walkability. It seems inhuman to put people in situations where they're not going to be able to get from their home because there's no public transportation close by. And yet you're saying no parking, and you're doing that to seniors and low-income people who need transportation. Sometimes they're handicapped. If they're seniors, they definitely need some kind of transportation. And, the senior housing is defined as having one senior and a family, and the family can't even drive their senior person around because they might have to, park blocks away or whatever. And like was pointed out, this becomes a problem with the neighborhood, like on the west side, because I lived in Queens for a long time, and I lived on a block with 1 and 2 family homes, but there were apartment buildings on the next block, and people that come home like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, the parking on their block is used up, so now they have to go on to the other blocks, and that means they have to walk 3, 4 blocks home every night. And some of them, are not that able to do it. So especially senior citizens and people with physical disabilities. So I think it's a really unfair proposal, and it needs a lot of work. It seems to have been done without forethought of many issues that could be impacted and that could affect our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Any emails submitted for public comment? Nope. Okay. Thank you to everyone that spoke tonight. Next, we have our first read legislation. We'll start with introductory ordinance 024-106, considered in finance. Councilman Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion to pass 024-106, an ordinance to end the 2024 BJCSB budget to refund municipal users.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Discussion.
We went over this at work session with the comptroller. Basically, we are clawing back money that's this, I believe, is left over, essentially settlement money that's due back to ourselves and Johnson City and the other users, and particularly us, because we footed some of the we still have essentially bills that we've paid and need to be reimbursed for in the sewer fund. So this will help plug our this kind of IOU, if you will, in our sewer fund. So
Thank
pretty
you.
straightforward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6-0.
Right. The ordinance passes. Next, we have introductory ordinance 024-107 considered in finance. Councilman Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion to pass 024-107, an ordinance to close the 2024 Joint Sewer Capital Fund
I'll second.
project and move the balance
Oh,
of the
sorry.
sewer fund.
Okay, motioned by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Discussion.
This is basically the second step of the first ordinance. So we're getting the money back from the sewage treatment plant. And then this is moving from the capital fund budget into the sewer fund to kind of cancel out that IOU and close the gap. So. that's
Any
all.
questions? Any further discussion? Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
I think that's 6-0.
Okay, the ordinance passes. Next, we have introductory ordinance 024-109 considered in employees.
I'll step in and read
Okay,
that.
perfect.
So this is, I'd like to make a motion on ordinance 024-109, which is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Binghamton, chapter 124, section 26, to update positions and personal policies.
I'll second.
Motioned by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Discussion.
Just cleaning up the charter and adding in some new positions. Pretty straightforward.
All right, clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6-0.
Right, the ordinance passes. Next, we have introductory ordinance 024-110 considered in finance. Councilman Kavanaugh.
Okay, I'd like to motion to pass 024-110. Is that right? Yes. An ordinance to amend the 2024 water fund budget for over budget items.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Discussion.
So just to, this is cleaning up the water and sewer budget. We've had increases, as we've heard numerous times, for different departments. We've had significant increases in electricity cost and chemical costs. So we are increasing those lines and finding that that revenue in other lines, but all within the water and sewer fund.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay, clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6-0.
The ordinance passes. Next, we have introductory ordinance 024-111 considered in finance. Councilman Kavanaugh.
I'd like to motion for adoption of 024-110, an ordinance to amend the 2024 Binghamton Johnson City hourly employer rates for a consumer price index increase.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Discussion.
So this is a contractually obligated increase. It's for some reason that is still not entirely clear to me. This is how we do it. It has to do with when the CPI is actually published. That's why. They have to do a look back period to apply that CPI to everyone's who gets this increase in that particular union. And so this is just kind of authorizing it, even though it's already contractually obligated.
Any further discussion? Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
You 6-0.
Yeah, the ordinance passes. Next, we have introductory ordinance 024-113 considered in employees. Councilman Dundon.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion on 024-113. It's an ordinance to amend the 2024 contingency budget.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Discussion.
We determined
Councilman
at work,
Kavanaugh.
yeah, we determined at work session that this is now the right number based on,
Based on the
Increase-
revenue
on
received by
revenue,
the
okay.
clerk's office.
Anyone else? Okay. The clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
The ordinance passes. Right. Next, we have introductory resolution R 24-95 considered in Public Works. Councilman Dundon.
I'd like to make a motion on resolution R 24-95. It's a resolution to accept a $12,000 grant from Broome County for youth sports programming.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Discussion.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to get a grant for 12 grand towards our youth programming, youth sports programming from the county. Why not?
Yay. I'm
Yay.
really excited about that.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you, County. All right. Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6-0.
All right, the resolution passes. Next, we have introductory resolution R 24-96 considered in Public Works. Councilman Dundon.
I'd like to make a motion on R 24-96. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a supplemental agreement number 1 with Keystone Environmental Services for the Shenango Trail Levee Improvement Project.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Costi. Discussion.
If I remember correctly from the work session on Monday, this is something that the DEC needs done, so we have to have this survey done.
Yes. And also it was something that they just brought to Ron Lake's attention. So that's why it has to be expedited.
Great, thank you. Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6-0.
Here, the resolution passes. Next, we have introductory resolution R 24-97 considered in Public Works. Councilman Dundon.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion on resolution R 24-97.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's you. Sorry
You
about
can do
that.
it. I don't care.
Copy paste issue.
All right, I'd like to motion to pass R 24-97, a resolution authorizing confined spaces agreement with the Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Board for confined space fire service.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Discussion.
This is basically a renewal of the agreement that's been in place for quite some time. We have similar agreements with a few other special kind of industrial and situations because our fire department has the expertise to deal with confined situation fires. Frito-Lay is the one that comes to mind right off the bat. So that's all it is, and we're providing needed service for what is in fact sort of one of our own facilities. So should go forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you, 6-0.
The resolution passes. Next, we move on to communications from council. Thank you again to everyone who's stayed through the meeting. We'll start with Councilman Hotchkiss.
Thank you, Council President. The first thing I wanted to highlight is that on Tuesday, December 10th, there is a voting period for a referendum regarding the Roosevelt Elementary School redevelopment project. So you can vote at 168 Hawley Street from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. The project is not going to have any impact on our local property tax or local school tax. And I encourage people to vote in favor of the project because having that elementary school on the north side is important to that whole neighborhood. The other thing I wanted to make a comment on the zoning legislation. I've been generally supportive of the language and the change because of some of the developments I've seen in different parts of the area and in different parts of the country that have had success with promoting new development to address their issues with affordable housing. I understand the sentiments that were shared today, but I think we really need to be open-minded in considering how the different angles we are approaching, how we can possibly address this issue. Even there's some follow-up stories after the one that I can continually reference from Minneapolis and the study that was done there from some of the developers, and they still have to go through the planning process and meet with neighbors and get feedback on whether or not any development will happen in their neighborhoods. So I think there's still a lot of community input that needs to happen for any project, despite where it is in the city. But creating more opportunities to build to address our affordable housing issues is, I think it's really important. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Costi.
Thanks, Council President. I just wanted to talk. On Monday, the city laid out a plan to install 42 EV chargers across the city at the expense of the taxpayers in Binghamton. Less than 7% of vehicles on the road are EVs, and I'm sure that number in Binghamton is even less than 7%. I think this is a gross waste of money, and I hope that as a council, we can protect the residents' tax dollars on this. And also tonight, one of the residents that came down and spoke about increased fines for code violations, which I have introduced a couple weeks ago back at a city council meeting, and I hope other members of council can see that and we pass it along as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Dundon.
I don't have any communications at this time, Council President.
Councilman Middleton.
Yeah, I did have something, but I totally forgot. But I just wanted to say, just to kind of piggyback off what Nate said, please go out on Tuesday and vote for that for Theodore Roosevelt School. I went there as a kid, and it means a lot to me. That school is on the north side of Binghamton. I work on the north side, and it's just an area that really needs the support in the school. They do so many great things inside of the school for the kids. So I'm just gonna reiterate on that. In the second district, we are not having a neighborhood meeting this month due to the holidays, but we will start back up in January. I encourage everyone to please be involved. I'm gonna get some more people so we can start off the new year right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kavanaugh.
I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving last week, and I'd just a quick thank you to Binghamton High School and the Honor Society there that once again put on a wonderful community Thanksgiving dinner right on the border of the third and fourth district at the high school. And then this year also the beloved community nonprofit started a new dinner at the Unitarian Church as a site, which had some really nice community turnout. And it was nice that it was actually after Thanksgiving. So it gave people that another day for a nice community meal and some fellowship. And it was a nice experience. I have I've been involved obviously with the zoning discussion and the proposal. I would like to thank the residents that came to speak and the Commission for the Environment that put a lot of time, a lot of effort into considering a wide variety of factors that could go into making zoning changes and should go into making zoning changes. We'll have a detailed response, I think, rather than just going ad hoc here to that when we formally look at this to take a vote on it, and perhaps in writing before then. So I have some reflection to do and thinking on that. I think that's it.
Thank you. All right. So at the last traffic board meeting, we started discussion on considering changing either changing the direction or creating a four-way stop at Mary and Woodland. Since that meeting, I have gone and flyered from Corbett to Morgan on South Washington, from missing a few homes because there's just a few flyers short, from Woodland up from Mary to Spur on Woodland, and from Mary from Sherwood to Morgan. So some of the areas that I hadn't flyered previously when we were looking at other interventions. So hopefully I get more feedback. I had some lovely conversations with people who were at the door when I came by with my flyers, and we'll be hopefully making some decisions at our next traffic board meeting on that topic. The zoo has cookies and cocoa with Mrs. Claus, musical performances, treats, and photos included with regular zoo admission. That's coming up December 7th and December 14th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. On December 7th, the musical performer will be a Vocal Impact Barbershop Quartet, and on the 14th, it'll be the Tri-Cities Opera. The Discovery Center, December 6th, has their Gingerbread Village grand opening and free admission night from 4 to 7 p.m. December 7th, Discovery Center has Ho 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 Holidays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Musical performers, Gingerbread Village, Santa, all the holiday stuff. December 15th at the Discovery Center, they're going to have a Hanukkah event from 1 to 3 p.m. Songs, crafts, treats. So those are some of the upcoming events in District 5. Blue bags, come and talk about it every time. I'm still trying to get things to keep moving with getting blue bags to Southside East. I think last time gave an update that I had seen the list of businesses that will be contacted to see if they're interested in selling blue bags. On that list, I got Kavanaugh's Groceries put on. So I checked in with Councilman Kavanaugh today, and he has not received anything from our Waste Zero, our blue bag provider. So I'm guessing that neither have any of the Southside East vendors that are potentially interested in selling blue bags to our residents who cannot easily access them. For people who've been following the haciendas topic, it was not on the Planning Commission yesterday. I do not know when it will be on the Planning Commission or if or what exactly is going to happen. I have been trying to keep informed on it, but hypothetically, if someone were to apply for something other than a restaurant to be at that location, and they were able to get on the agenda for the Planning Commission for January 7th, then the earliest possible public hearing would be February 4th, assuming no special meeting. So again, that's all super hypothetical. But I'm just kind of laying out timelines because I know this is a topic that people care about. And I did meet the owner. He came in and we had a talk to. So we're looking at what is possible, but of course everything involved is private property. So there's limit to what one can do. Let's see, I have more here. Turn it around here. There is no Southside Neighborhood Assembly meeting in December, but it will return in January. So I think I've got all my Southside updates, and I will be following along with our zoning experts on council as they work on their thoughts, and following up with our planning commission, our planning department, sorry, with the questions and see what all can be answered. So thank you all. And with that,
Motion to adjourn?
motion by Councilman Costi,
I'll second.